So it'll be amazing in even 6 months how much these, what I call conservative investments, have yielded in terms of return. One of my most conservative ones has 100% APR. And I was just showing Ryan one that I'm considering looking at that has 135,000% APY, which that still seems kind of fake and crazy, because like how can something make that much of a return?
All right, everybody. I'm very excited to bring Molly on here for a testimonial with us. Ever since she joined the program, I was looking forward to this moment because I have so much respect for Molly. She is one of the most incredible business coaches I've ever met, that I've learned a lot from personally through Elite CEOs when I was being coached inside of that to be a coach. And yeah, I was super excited when you first joined the program, and I knew the input that you could bring to us, and learning how you were learning through things was going to help us incredibly. So thank you for trusting us, for coming onto the program. And I'm super glad that we could, bring your crypto knowledge up to where it's at today. With that being said, I want to figure out where your crypto knowledge was at before you joined our program.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for letting me be in your program. I had minimal knowledge of crypto. I had a couple of beliefs that I now think were incorrect, that like crypto was created so that drug dealers could exchange their shady money, and that it was kind of a monopoly money, fake like video game money that somehow people were turning into real money. And I was very unsure what that was. But I started to hear people in my circle through the coaching world that they were starting to make like significant amounts of money with crypto. And I was curious how that worked. And I wasn't really sure what my best approach or plan was to learn. And being a coach, I do know that the fastest way to gain a significant amount of knowledge quickly is through a coaching program. And I've known Ryan for a while now through Elite CEOs. So I was like, all right, let's actually, there's another reason why I chose you. So I know some other business coaches who are in the crypto space, and their kind of vibe around coaching, they're kind of jerks. Like they talk down to their market. They have this sort of aloof arrogance about them. And I think that that is kind of one of the things with some finance crypto world, is this sort of arrogant attitude, which I'm not interested in. And I love that you and your team, you don't have that. You're just very down to earth. You don't talk down to your students, and you're not trying to impress everybody with how much knowledge you have at the expense of making your clients, your students feel like uneducated about it. So thank you for being that way. And that does separate you guys from some of the other people in the space who have a very different kind of attitude in talking to their market. So I knew very little. And I came in kind of a little bit, like I joined a program that was on a schedule and I came in a little bit late. So I had to catch up a little. And you guys were great. It was a lot of information, but anytime you're trying to master and understand something that has a lot of technical components to it, as well as financial components, there's a tremendous amount of jargon, language, and concepts in the space. And you guys enabled me to catch up very quickly. And it's so funny. It's only been a couple of months, like 2 months, maybe. And I can no longer remember what it was like to not have all this knowledge. Like it's changed me in quite a pretty significant way.
So that right there is super important and really excites me, because that tells me that the method that we chose in order to teach you guys is allowing you guys to gather this information, but then have it stick and store with you so that you can make proper, not always proper, but more educated decisions in the future with that information.
Correct. There's also way more to this than I realized. In the beginning, I kind of just thought it was an equivalent to the stock market, where I would kind of find the crypto equivalent of quote stocks, and I would invest my money in them like stocks. And that is one part of it. You can look at particular, the equivalent would be called, coins or tokens, and see how they're progressing on a graph in the same way that you can analyze stock graphs. And that is one element to it. What amazed me even more was the equivalent of like a savings account called liquidity pools and staking, where you can take a certain amount of your money, assets, whatever, you kind of park it somewhere, and it creates insane amounts of compounding interest, which I had zero idea about at all as being part of the crypto world. And for somebody who's busy, like I got a lot going on, I don't really have time to be watching like the market all day long to be day trading. Like I'm just, that's just not an interest of mine. So I love some of these other options around crypto that I didn't know existed that don't require as much daily attention. And if you have a more of a long-term view, the amount of money you can make by doing very little is amazing.
So you'd say that the passive crypto wealth building strategies was really where the gold was for you?
Absolutely. I had zero idea that that was even a thing. I mean, it has its own jargon. It's called like liquidity pools. I was like, I don't even know what that means. So I had to learn kind of that concept. And then the other thing that was shocking was the number of options around liquidity pools. And if I had just Googled, like, what's the good liquidity pool? Like, who knows what I would have found, where knowing that you guys have done the research on a lot of them helps me minimize my risk of investing in a shady one. That was super helpful for you to, and Yoni to say, you know what, these are the ones you should start with. These are the ones that we have our money, and we have just more confidence that these are like legit projects. Because that's one of the realities with crypto is you can invest all your money in something that's like going to disappear tomorrow and be a rug pull and is kind of a scam. So the research that we all do helps minimize the risk that you're investing in something that's just shady, which of course I don't want to do and no one wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah, with an unregulated space, it's extremely important to be able to have that confidence in knowing individuals that have done research and know how to do research. And the cool thing about our community is that since we're bringing people in and we're educating people in our community, then the overall consciousness of our community naturally increases week over week over week because people are learning more and more and more from us. And then we have this whole community of like-minded conscious human beings that understand the technology and everything behind the space, to where now we all just help each other. So like we've got students that are telling us about stuff we haven't even heard of now, which is so cool.
And that's the beauty of your environment is there's no competition in there. Like I'm not stealing your opportunity to do anything. If anything, the more of us who get involved in some of these, the more likely they are to take off and succeed. So it's when I win, you win. When we share knowledge, we both win, which is a fun collaborative type energy. And not all industries are like that. Some people are very secretive about like, I have some kind of tip that I'm going to make money off of. And if you find out, you're going to like steal that from me. That doesn't exist in this world at all. Like it's very open and sharing, which is necessary because if I'm going to invest money in a project and I'm not sure if it's legit or not, having a community to find out, like, what do you guys think of this? Would you invest in it? Have you invested in it? It just helps minimize risk of getting involved in shady stuff that isn't a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great point with the whole, like it's game theory. Like if you win, then I win kind of thing. And that's what the reserve asset stuff is even all about, that we dive into, inside of the community and everything. So Molly, we already kind of went over like what you got, a lot of things that you got out of the program. So what I wanted to go over next with you was just what your results in the program were like. This could be like percentage gains so far. This could be some of the skills that you've learned. What would you say?
The first thing was I now know how to create a portfolio of investments that suits my goals, because, my goals are not the same as like a 25-year-old who's in the program with very long sort of time horizon. So you guys helped me see how to break up my own portfolio to fit my particular needs. I'm also generally a more cautious investor than I think other people in this space are. So I'm not really looking to take all my money and buy high risk speculative things that I could flip. That would be just way too stressful for me. So I have like a much more conservative thing where in only 2 months I made 15% return, which is like insane compared to what the money was basically just sitting in a checking account doing nothing. So, and then I'm very excited about some of these long-term liquidity pool staking opportunities where I take money that I've earned and just park it somewhere for a couple of months, maybe a year, which is very, very short amount of time in like the investing world, but in the crypto world is like a lifetime, and the returns that you can get. So my point is I've just started to see some of the returns from what I've learned and where I've parked money, because I just started with some of this stuff. So it'll be amazing in even 6 months how much these, what I call conservative investments, have yielded in terms of returns. Like some of them have, like one of my most conservative ones has 100% APR. And I was just showing Ryan one that I'm considering looking at that has 135,000% APY, which that still seems kind of fake and crazy, because like how can something make that much of a return? So that's the fun thing, is there's always new stuff to be researching and checking out. And if you're willing to spread your risk around with some of these different projects, you can find one that will create some crazy return. And it doesn't even feel like speculation to me, like buying some, picture of an animal NFT that's supposedly going to be worth $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, there's speculatory investments, and then there's well thought out investments that we can have here in the crypto space. That's for sure. So that's crazy, where you're saying that you got a 15% return in just a couple of months, and that is conservative inside of the crypto space, because we know people are getting like 400%, 500%, 600% in that amount of time. So the fact that we equate 2 to 3 months of returns as conservative is mind-blowing, considering the S&P 500, which is the 500 top stocks by market cap, I believe, gives on average 10% in a whole year.
Right. I kind of feel like I've taken as little risk as possible, and still got that crazy return, where as I get more comfortable and confident in the space, I will pull out funds to invest in some of the potentially riskier, higher return things. I just kind of wanted to establish a good benchmark and get some compounding things going on before I started to play around with some of the more speculative stuff.
I love that. Dipping your toe in. Cool. So Molly, what would you tell someone that is currently sitting on the fence about joining BCAP?
The unfortunate reality is that if you are in the United States or even in Europe, it's very likely that your currency becoming worth a lot less as you sit there doing nothing. And so if you're like me and I had money just sitting in a checking account, I was considering putting it into stocks, but I just hadn't gotten around to it. Having your money sit in one of these Bitcoin investment options is so much smarter. And if you just try to figure it out on your own, that's going to take a while. I know I've been reading a bunch of books on crypto, and there's a big time investment in self-education, where you guys gave me what I needed to know to act very quickly. So you shaved months of time off of my own education process. And even more than that, like I didn't have to risk investing in stuff that I just kind of randomly found on the internet. I trust you guys. And if you're going to suggest something, I know that odds are higher that it's a legit project than if I were to just go onto Twitter and like see somebody suggest some random project. So it's given me this community where I can be more trusting that the decisions I make are statistically going to be more safe than if I just tried to get into it on my own.
Yeah, that's one of the big things, is that when you buy any type of program, you're not just buying the knowledge inside of it, you're quite literally buying time, because it's taken us 4 years to learn all this information and a lot of mistakes. So you get to skip past all of that and learn from our mistakes and purchase what's quite literally like time in a little box that we hand to you. So, and in the crypto world, as Molly was saying before, 1 year of time is a lifetime. So if you even just skip out on 2 months, you could miss out on potentially 200%, 300%, 400% returns. And time is of the essence inside of this market because it moves quickly. So I 100% agree with you there. Thank you so much, Molly. We appreciate you, and we're looking forward to continuing helping you inside of the community.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan.
Of course.